Hello and welcome to this special episode of the Boss Battle podcast, where today we are talking about the Nintendo Switch and its announcement at 4 AM UK time today. That's not when we listened to it, but that was when it was announced. I'm your host James, and with me I've got Carl.
Hello.
So we're literally going to be focusing on the Nintendo Switch and our reactions to everything that's gone on today and everything we know so far. There's likely to be lots of stuff that comes out over the next few weeks that we won't talk about, but this is our initial reactions to everything from the hardware, the presentation, the games, first and third party. So let's get straight into it. Carl, how did you digest the information? Did you watch, read, what did you do?
First of all, I watched the Zelda showcase, basically just the game, because I just seen a quick video on that, so I thought I'd watch that, and I thought that looks amazing. I've not played a Zelda game in a while, probably since Ocarina of Time. Wind Waker. Played Wind Waker. Yeah, it looks really good. Kind of reminded me of Shadow of Colossus in a way. There's lots of big things about, bit of climbing and stuff I think I've seen. But yeah, it looks interesting.
And what about the rest of the conference? How did you find out about that?
I just watched the sort of recording on IGN, which is pretty much the whole video. Sort of watched it while I was doing other bits, driving, not watching it while I was driving, I was listening. My initial reaction was, yeah, seen it all before. It just kind of reminds me of all the same old Nintendo stuff, really. Just trying to put two things in one, having it at the home and away, and just gimmicky. It just smacks gimmicks to me again.
So I watched it. I watched the whole thing front to back this morning when I woke up. Not live. I watched it about 7 o'clock this morning, and then I've done a little bit of sort of sifting around the net to my usual spots and listened to a few videos. The sort of hype where I've been reading seems to be really out up there. People are really excited for it. There doesn't seem to be huge swells of negativity. Although to be honest, like you, my personal feeling is it wasn't that amazing. I came away. So my journey through the conference, my sort of hour or so, whatever it took to watch, 20 minutes in, I placed a pre-order with Amazon. So I was well up for it, well interested in that. We'll go through all the details in a minute, but I placed my pre-order, thought I'll get it in now, and as of now I've left it in, although I am of the opinion that I'm very likely to cancel that in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
Because by the end of the conference, I was still interested in the hardware and excited to play the games and try it all out. But I just don't see anything in the next 6 months that makes me think I need that in my life now, and I couldn't wait till Christmas. The reason I say Christmas is that that's when the new Mario game is supposed to be surfacing. Holiday season, they said.
Yeah.
So we've got, best part of a year to wait for the new Mario. I know Zelda's in there, you mentioned that, but then there's the whole Wii U argument, which we'll come on to in a bit. So yeah, my initial reaction was really strange tone. I thought the whole presentation was a bit weird. Whether that's because it's a different culture, with it being obviously Asia and the Japanese, or whether that was just because the actual conference was weird. Watching it back, I was comparing it to things like the Xbox, PS4, E3 presentations, the Apple conferences that you see. There was no audience enthusiasm, there was no noise. I think I showed you one particular segment of the third-party developers where one of the guys comes on, is all enthusiastic, and then the voiceover guy actually voices over the fact that the guy mentions how his joke's just not gone down very well, and there's no reaction. But I thought that was not just him. I thought the whole conference just seemed to be devoid of any sort of energy. It seemed, and even the presenters were really lifeless.
It could be because you're basing it on a lot of the conferences that you see in America. It might be obviously because this was done in Japan. Obviously, the Nintendo one in E3 in what would be in America would be quite enthusiastic, and plus you got all the mainly American audience. Maybe it's just like a respect thing in Japan, because I know they
could well be, and that's a really good point actually. And I often wonder whether the Apple events would be full of such enthusiasm and clapping and mindless cheering if it was done in the UK. To be honest, because again we're probably similar, in terms of how we operate. Yeah, not quite as out there as your typical Americans. No offence if you're an American listener. You didn't watch the whole thing in its full order, although you watched most of it in order.
Yeah.
I had one comment about the order that I watched it in, which was the order it was presented in, which was, I thought it was a bit strange that they came out and the very first thing they told us was the price and when it was out and when you were going to buy it. It felt like that was something you would sort of build up to. and you might get us excited about the thing first, whereas they just came out and the first thing they said was, this is the Switch, this is what's going to be in the box, and this is how much it's going to cost you, and the day you can go and buy it.
I suppose we already kind of knew about it, though, didn't we, really? I mean, the ins and outs of it, you knew it was going to be like the Wii U, a tablet type thing that connects to the telly, you can play it on either, and it's going to be a bit portable, so they don't really tell us anything different than what we kind of already knew.
I don't know, the Joy-Cons, they went into lots of detail about the technology in those, and they covered things like the NFC technology, that the weird sort of hand sensing technology, which reminded me of
HD touch or something.
So there is quite a lot of stuff in the hardware, but it was just the fact that before they even talked about that, before they'd got any kind of excitement, they came out and it's going to cost you this much and you can buy it in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I just felt like that was something that would have been better placed towards the end. Maybe again, I'm just used to other conferences where they do that, but it felt like you went straight in with the bit that might have, I don't know, I think the whole way through then you're thinking, is this worth that money? Is this worth that money? Do I want to spend that sort of money on this thing? And initially, like I said, for me, after the initial hardware demo, I was all in. I was like, this is great. I love the fact that it's really different. And it is different. There's a lot of similarities. And they obviously did a whole spiel on how it was inspired by every other console they've ever made.
It's not got a handle.
It's not got a handle. And I did like that comment you made before we came to record about the fact that that was the only thing they promoted about the GameCube was a plastic handle. But I did think that, there was a lot of innovation in there in terms of technology and the way they're going to use it. Look, when you compare it to what its competitors are doing, there is. Maybe if you compare it to what Nintendo's done before, we can see they're borrowing from previous technology and enhancing it, but they're still doing things there that PlayStation and Xbox don't do.
Yeah, I mean, the way I viewed Nintendo the past couple of years, they're kind of their own competition in a way, because they don't seem to want to compete with the likes of the Xbox and the PlayStation. They want to do something completely different, which I'm all for. I'm all for innovation, but they all seem like they're going to just have their own, like they're competing with themselves, which I suppose is not a bad thing.
It's a different audience they target. I think you see that from the games they're advertised, and I think probably the ones that we reacted to the least excitedly for was the fact that for me it was the one that really sort of just killed it dead for me was the third party EA presentation of FIFA, which wasn't even FIFA 17 or FIFA 18, it was just FIFA, which means that they're going to get some sort of weird hacked up port for the Switch, and then you probably never see that again.
Yeah. Because
the Wii did the same thing there on the Wii. I don't think they ever saw one on the Wii U, and then this is the first return to a Nintendo console, but it's almost like let's see how it sells and we'll bother to do a sequel if it does well. But they're not getting the same game that the PlayStation and Xbox players have got, which either is an intelligent move because they know that those players are probably going to own both consoles, and they're thinking that way, so why would we want to sell it to the same people twice? Or they just don't think that it's going to have the legs that those two consoles have in terms of sales for them. I suppose if Nintendo's aiming for a child-like market, which this presentation very much was compared to the one they showed at the end of last year, if that's their audience they're going for, then those kids aren't going to be spending hundreds of pounds on FIFA Ultimate Team packs and stuff like that. So
no,
that's maybe something to do with it.
This is what the other thing that I get with Nintendo is, I was going to say that their market is predominantly children, or it seems that way, and maybe some nostalgia for people who like the tech and things like that. But I think, especially now with it coming out in March, most of the kids have already asked for their consoles that they want that were out then, so like the PlayStations or the Xboxes. They're not really going to ask for a Nintendo in March because they're not really going to get it, to be all honest.
I think that's probably a tactic, though. I think Nintendo probably aren't going to churn out. Well, they're not going to have enough to satisfy demand, are they? That's what they're hoping. No. They're hoping that demand will outstrip what they can actually supply, and therefore the people who'll clamour over it and pay silly money for it now and make a real name of it will be the hardcore, which are the people who have probably watched this conference come away absolutely buzzing, thinking it's the best thing ever. And then, as the year goes by, then they'll get more into shops, get things on the shelves. They've got a little bit more in terms of their game library. Because if you were to buy it now for your child, there's literally nothing you can play on it.
No.
We'll go through the games in a bit, but there's bugger all you can play on it on day one. But it's come Christmas, Mario's going to be out. Mario then sells your consoles for Christmas, doesn't he? I think that's what they're probably looking at.
The thing is, at Christmas, is it just going to be a distant memory?
Well, I don't know. It depends on what Microsoft and PlayStation do. PlayStation aren't releasing anything new console-wise. They've done the PS4 Pro. There'll be no more announcements from them this year. No. Xbox are going to announce Scorpio, but that's a completely different market they're aiming for.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. It depends, doesn't it? If the NES Classic has done the trick for those who managed to get their hands on it, and got people maybe back interested in Nintendo as a brand, maybe it will. Anyway.
I almost wonder if it was meant to come out before Christmas and something held it back.
Maybe.
Because it is very close to Christmas, March. I don't remember anything coming out sort of March time, console-wise.
Well, they haven't released anything really on the Wii U for a long time now.
No.
I mean, the Wii U's been just left there for third parties who felt like supporting it, and there's not been much. Obviously, Nintendo focused all their efforts on this.
Yeah.
So let's go through some of the things in the presentation then. So I made a couple of notes to start us off. So let's talk about the hardware and the price and your thoughts on that then. So the hardware in general, what did you think of it?
Very interesting. I like the idea of being able to play it plausibly, or if someone wants to watch some kind of telly, I can just put it onto the little tablet device, or if I want to just play in bed or something. That's really cool. It's obviously something different you can't do with the Xbox or the PlayStation. I mean, you can play it in your bedroom if you've got a TV and stuff in there, and you've got to move it over there and stuff. But this just seems really convenient in a way. But is there enough of it there to warrant paying the price for just a couple of games that I'm going to play? I mean, I thought the price was pretty good considering the price of the other consoles. At the moment.
It's around the same sort of price. I mean, if you wanted to buy a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox, you can get one for less than the Switch.
Yeah, obviously now because of that a few years, but on release.
On release, yeah, absolutely. But then, I mean, I suppose your hardware. So I'll say the hardware's is not as good. The overall sort of game processing power isn't there.
No.
But then with everything else that's got to go into it, that dock, the Joy-Cons, the grip that goes between them. There's a lot of little things there that have to be produced. Those Joy-Cons on their own to buy are expensive. I mean, they're like $80 for a pair, which I'm not quite sure what that is in real money in pounds sterling, but we'll have to look it up. But it's those peripherals are super expensive.
Yeah.
The Pro Controller, which you don't get in the bundle, that you've got to buy separately, if you want that true gaming experience or gamer experience that you're used to with your consoles, is another £65, I think.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of money for a control pad. And then if you want, if you've got a couple of kids and they both want to play in the same way, are you going to have arguments over who gets the Pro Controller, who gets the Joy-Con grippy doodah, or do you have two lots of it? I know they can be flipped on their side, so the Joy-Cons do that, but I don't know, the tech in it, so I'm going to just tell you what the hardware is in the box then. So I did make a note of this. Let me find my page. I've got a couple of page notes. So the product itself, it's 720p handheld.
That's alright.
Up to 1080p when docked. So there is some extra oomph in the dock that's provided that you don't see. I think the numbers that no one has confirmed yet but were rumoured were 40% drop in processing power once removed from the dock.
Okay.
The console itself, so in terms of what comes in the box, you get the console, you get the left and right Joy-Cons. Each Joy-Con obviously got motion sensitivity, it's got accelerometers, it's got the clicky sticks,
HD
and all that stuff.
touch.
The HD touch, there's the sort of Kinect style sensor in the end of one of them, which they can use to do sort of distance tracking and finger tracking and stuff, which was quite interesting.
Rock, paper, scissors, couldn't they?
Yeah, which was novel.
Which is called janken in Japanese, just an interesting fact for you there.
They got there's the little nunchuck, the strap adapters, nunchucks, the Wii.
That adds the extra L1.
So all that's in the box. You get your dock, you get the HDMI cables, and all that is in there. It's got 32 gig of internal memory, which that can be expanded using micro SD cards.
I'd have to be, wouldn't it?
So but all the games come on cartridges, so presumably the save games live with the game rather than on the console. And if you don't have to install them, then I guess you don't need as big a capacity. So the games are all on cartridges, which is different. Pro Controller separate, so that doesn't come with it. The screen's also a touch screen, but they never mention that at all in the conference.
I didn't hear that at all.
No, they didn't mention it once, but it's in all their stuff online in there.
Because the Wii U one was touch screen as well, wasn't it?
With a stylus, but this is capacitive touch like your iPhone or your tablets. So why or what they're going to use that for, I don't know. It'll probably be for indie games and novelty sort of. I guess they may be trying to take out the iPad at the same time as the thing your children do when they're travelling or on holiday or in front of the sofa. They want this to be the everything, don't they?
Yeah.
So in theory, you can play all those iPad-style games, which you'll probably be able to buy from the Nintendo store for 3 times the price of an iPad game.
Indeed.
But you also get all the sort of full-end games. So that's what comes in the box. It's $299, which on Amazon at the moment is £279. And that's got Amazon's pre-order guarantee. So if the price does come down at all, which I've had before, so I did have that with my Xbox One S. I ordered it at one price and it came down by a good £20 or £30 before they charged me for it. So you might see a small drop in the price.
I don't
Well, this is sort of initial advertising price.
Yeah,
It's up to them. It's RRP. It's recommended that they sell it at this price.
Yeah.
That, I mean, like I said, the Xbox One S did come down a little bit. Maybe this will. Who knows? But that's the hardware and what's in the box. They talked about quite heavily in the presentation what they call play styles, which was how they expect you to play with that hardware.
Yes.
And I've jumped over the online service, which we'll come back to in terms of what the order of the conference was. But with play styles, so they've got, and this is quoted from the conference, TV mode, which is your Joy-Con in the grip,
Yeah.
played like a game controller. So very much the sort of classic gaming setup.
That felt really big from when I was seeing it. Like the little miniature dock that you put the Joy-Cons in. It felt you've got it either really big, or if you take them out, you're really small.
So I think it looked like that initially, but then having seen it handled by
Yeah, I
a real
suppose you'd have
person
to.
on
Yeah.
screen, though I had the opposite concern, because the Joy-Cons looked really small.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you've either got the really small one,
But the grip in the
or
middle
you put
actually
them
doesn't
together.
look that big when you see it on
No,
screen.
not
It's only
really.
about the width of a Joy-Con, so it's not mega. And what they've got is like these ergonomic sort of grips that the Joy-Con sit in, so it sits more neatly in your hand. I think it'll probably be the size of your average Xbox pad.
Yeah.
But that worries me because of the size then of the Joy-Cons when they separate. So that's TV mode. You've got tabletop mode, which uses the kickstand on the back of the screen itself,
Yeah.
and then you use the Joy-Con separately, and you can either use them for multiplayer then or single player, depending on how you want to do it. And then you've got handheld mode, which is literally docking the Joy-Cons on the side of the screen and just you personally playing on the move. So what I liked about the tabletop mode is I genuinely, the multiplayer piece I was watching and thinking I could actually see, because to Nintendo, to me, has always been about the multiplayer experience. If you go back as far as what made the N64 such a big part of for me growing up anyway, was Mario Kart, GoldenEye, Mario 64, the wrestling games on it. We played them for hours in multiplayer mode, and it was it was classic multiplayer, not as we know it now online, but in fact a split screen in front of a TV.
Yeah.
I could actually see this device making that possible again. If more than one of us in our group of gamers had these consoles, it does local play over your local Wi-Fi. You can take them together and play. You can set them up on a kickstand and play together. You can take Joy-Cons around. I could genuinely see us getting back to a world where we maybe did a little bit more of that, because they are so portable. Whereas today, if we wanted to do, if we wanted to get together and play games together, you've got to take a TV, you've got to take a bloody great Xbox. Yeah, you can play it online, but if you want to play together in the same room, that's almost impossible. Whereas with these, I could genuinely see you getting together in any room and just sticking them on a table and playing. You could play multiplayer online, but together. It opens up a few more possibilities for playing as a group, I think. And that's what they're aiming for. One of the things that tickled me was one of their games, so we'll come on to the games themselves, but it was 1-2 Switch. Actually, the whole concept of that game is they want you to take it to parties. So they imagine you're going to take this thing to a party. Yeah, and then just sort of sit and, there's some music in the background, everyone's drinking, and we're all playing on our Switch, 1-2 Switch. Maybe it will. I don't know. I can't see me doing it personally, but I don't know.
It probably will in Japan, maybe, but I don't think it's... Yeah.
We'll see. A couple of things that I just noted as well with the whole playstyle thing. So the battery, when it's out the dock, they say 2.5 to 6.5 hours. And on the Zelda, at the very end of Zelda, there's a little disclaimer that says 3 hours is their estimate for that. So in 3 hours, you'll wipe your device out and have to start again.
I doubt you'll get 6.5 hours out of any of the games.
I don't know, indie games. I mean, if you're playing something... So the other thing we'll come on to with the online services is their sort of game with gold rip-off or PlayStation Plus rip-off. They're going to give you a NES or a SNES game every month as part of that service. So those, I would imagine, will run for 6 hours. I can't see that killing the battery that fast. But when you come to playing the sort of AAA games we're used to, Skyrim, Zelda, Mario, that's going to just knock it for 6, and it's not going to get those times. And presumably, like any battery, lithium battery, it's going to degrade over time. So it's only going to be so good to start you off with, and then over, like our iPhones, you're going to see after a year or two, that quality is going to drop off. They are supporting play and charge through the USB batteries, so you can use the USB-C connector and a battery to charge it on the move. So you're going to see I think Pokemon Go spawned huge sales in those devices.
Yeah.
And if they're compatible, at least you've got one in your drawer you can sort of use. You'll probably need a bigger,
that
stronger
wouldn't
one.
be USB-C though, would it?
It doesn't matter though, because the battery end is USB.
You get
it's the USB-C connector's only at the device level, but the other end will just be a USB. But USB to USB-C. And as I mentioned, Wi-Fi multiplayer was going to be 8 people connected over local play. So those are the configurations. I mean, thoughts on those? If you were to have one in your house, Which of the three would you probably do more? Would you dock it? Would you
the other one
tabletop it?
I'd probably dock it to a certain extent. But the one thing that I did notice was you obviously got the TV mode where you can put the Joy-Cons into the middle thing. You can actually take them out and just sort of relax. So like, I think at one point he sort of lied down on the sofa and put his arms down. I thought that's quite nice because obviously with a pad you're hunched forward a lot of the time. So yeah.
I mean, you could do that to a lesser degree with the Wii, even though there was a cord between the two.
Yeah.
I did think that was funny when he tried to show that though, because he kind of walked over to that sofa, very awkwardly made himself look comfortable. He didn't really look comfortable, and then within seconds he was up again. But yeah, so you think you might go for that? That might be your preferred option. Then you think
probably wouldn't be preferred because it'd feel completely alien. But I think for certain games like casual games or something, then yeah, I could see me doing that.
Cool. So we've talked about the hardware and the play styles. Peripherals wise, just really quickly because we don't want to dwell on these bits too much. But I mean, there's a whole range of the stuff you'd expect, carry bags and all that kind of naff stuff. But the essential things, I suppose, or the things you might want to buy more of, the dock you can buy again. I think it's about $60. I have to double check that.
Why would you want it?
If you want it in multiple rooms, I guess.
Okay.
Be able to move it around and dock it in multiple TVs, possibly. I don't know. Or if you've got, I guess, your kids can play in the living room with you, but then you want to send them upstairs to their bedroom. I don't know. You've got the grips. I think you can buy again. I'm not sure what their prices were. In fact, while we're thinking about it, let's have a quick look.
You can get them in two colours, like I at the moment. There's the blue and there's the red, which isn't red, it's pink.
Oh, someone is talking on this webpage. Let me find what we wanted. Buy now. Is it going to be under there? The red and neon blue come together. You can't get what you can't do though, and they're not selling is a blue and a blue and a red and a red.
Yeah,
you'll always have a red and a blue opposites. I watched a video earlier and someone made a good point. There's your classic player 1 and player 2 colours, which I thought was quite clever.
Yeah,
but I think it looks ugly as hell when it's all set up like that. I don't like that.
Go down a bit. They
are showing those blue and blues and red. Oh, that's interesting. So I've not seen those before. So looking at the Nintendo's official website, and this is all in dollars. Nintendo Switch Pro controller $70. The Joy-Con controllers $80 for a pair. To buy a left or a right on its own, you're looking at $50.
So don't break any.
Yeah, don't break them. There's a Joy-Con charging grip, which will charge the Joy-Con controllers, and that's 30 quid. There's a Switch dock set, which is $90. Sorry, it's not
a bit more expensive then.
So yeah, $90. So it's almost. I mean, that's almost a third of the price of the entire thing.
Yeah. Just
to rebuy the dock again, which doesn't actually do anything without the main console. But the cheapest thing on there is the Joy-Con wheel set of 2. You can have 2 plastic wheel sets to put your controllers in to play Mario Kart.
Just like you could
for a casual $15. Yeah. So those are your accessories that go above and beyond what you get in the box. And obviously, we've already seen what you get in the box. So it's interesting. There's a lot of expensive stuff there, though. You know, if you don't feel that what comes in the box is going to be enough to set you off, there's a lot you've got to buy there, which I'm not keen on. But anyway, so moving on from peripherals, then let's talk about the online services. So they touched on this very briefly.
Yeah.
What did you pick up or catch from that?
The one thing that I caught and picked up and thought, really, is obviously if you want to play online multiplayer, you've got to, if you want to chat with your friends and stuff, it seemed to me like you've got to download an app for your phone and use your phone to chat to people while playing these games, not actually through the console.
That was exactly what I picked up on, and I said I wondered if you'd pick up on it as well, and you did.
That's
and they were very quick how they glanced over it. They mentioned everything about the social was done through an app.
Yeah.
And I thought, but then they mentioned chat and everything else, but they never came back and said that chat was done through the console.
No.
Having said that, I have seen earbud and microphone combos that they're selling on Game's website for use on the device. So you think if there's a microphone on a headphone, surely then you use that through the device. I don't know. But I did pick up on that and thought that's a bit odd. Yeah. I don't fancy sitting there with my phone in my lap with headphones in, talking to someone that I'm playing on Nintendo Switch with. I feel that's disconnected.
What happens if you get a phone call or whatever?
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's going to get in the way, isn't it? So I did find that a bit odd. They talk about managing your friends and chat and gaming schedules. But like I said, I did make my note there from the smart device, and that worried me a little bit. It's free until the autumn, so you can try out their Nintendo services, and then from then it's paid. They didn't mention how much. So it could be...
I'd imagine it'd be comparable.
You would hope so, wouldn't you? But you never know. And as part of that, when it does go chargeable, or if you decide to pay for it straight away, you'll get a free NES or SNES game every month as part of your subscription, which is... I like the idea, but I would imagine that if they're going to be any good, they're going to be the things that on the NES Classic you might have just bought.
Exactly.
If they're going to do
exactly what I just thought. Well, hang on, you've just sold this NES Classic to everyone, and then you say, "Oh, I'm going to give you a free NES Classic."
I suppose the NES Classic isn't it's portable, but it's not play and go. But then SNES, I would expect with the success of the NES Classic, they'll follow that with the SNES Classic.
Yeah,
I can't see them not doing
so.
that. I hope they really do. I'd love that. But then it makes you wonder. I know they're doing backwards support for GameCube games and N64 games.
Yeah.
Where are they? They're not going to give them away because they can make money selling them for the store, or surely, if you're in terms of quality games, you could give away to really boost that sales on that service. You're going to give away things on the GameCube, Mario Sunshine.
Yeah.
Put that up there. Give someone something really valuable instead of old NES and SNES games. I mean, they're probably going to give away the Marios, but how many times have you bought and played those on different devices now?
Well, the thing is as well, the people who've bought and played those are our sort of age, where the kids these days are like, well, I don't want to play that. That looks rubbish.
I suppose it's like novelty games that eat the battery life out a little bit and they can do on the move. They might have a go at them, but
potentially, yeah. But
it's an interesting one.
And that for that, and they have their iPhones and whatnot.
And I guess maybe the other reason they haven't, it's just something that's come to my head. Maybe the reason they haven't gone down the route of offering bigger games is because they've only put 32 gig of storage in the thing.
Yeah, that would.
And if they would sell for you, I mean, I still don't think the N64 games are particularly big, but the GameCube ones probably are carrying a bit of weight. So a few hundred meg there, plus the operating system, plus the odd downloadable game that they want you to buy. Maybe it's going to fill your console too quickly, so maybe that's why they don't want to do it. I don't know.
Just trying to think of what the sizes of the memory cards that came in the GameCube. I think they were only 256 meg.
Yeah.
So it probably wouldn't.
But the games were on there. It was only the software. It was only save games that went on those memory cards. The actual game was still on the disc.
Yeah.
Because you never had to install anything back in those days, and the good old days of cartridges and discs. So I thought that the online services seemed, I mean, to be honest, it all still feels a little bit behind, but then they have always been behind in terms of online services, so that's not some massive surprise. And I guess we have to remind ourselves that Nintendo do not have the money or the infrastructure of Sony or Microsoft. Both those companies are sitting on much, much bigger financial backing than Nintendo. So maybe, I guess these online services probably aren't as cheap or as easy as we think. Maybe if they see an adoption in the paid model, they'll start to increase it. But at the moment, I'm pretty sure the limited online services they offer are free.
Yes.
I think. They also mentioned, just while we're on the subject of the software and the online services, region locking has been removed from the software. So in theory, you can buy and import games from overseas, which will help a lot of sort of real enthusiasts who want the Japanese game market that don't get access to them in Europe and the US. There's a lot of games that don't ever make their way over to those shores that Nintendo make. So I guess it opens doors for the hardcore. But otherwise, I don't really see that's an advantage to me. Personally, I'm not travelling overseas and then seeing bargains on American games. Maybe if I did go to America more, that would be useful. But
kind of just felt like something that was tagged on just to add a bit of an extra.
They also didn't sort of flat out say it was. They weren't explicit about exactly how that region locking affected or what it was going to affect. They suggested that it was they'd relaxed their region locking rules, but it didn't say it was on everything. So it'd be interesting to see exactly how that plays out.
It doesn't really seem that something that should have been said in a press conference. It sort of seemed it should have just been something that would come out in like a news article.
It's not a big sell, is it?
No.
So that was online services. They then went on to spend a lot of time on the Joy-Cons.
Yes.
So I made a few notes actually of some of the stuff in there because hardware-wise, there's a lot in them. So let me just rattle off the hardware that's in them, and then we'll go through what we thought of it. So obviously you're going to get your left and right device. They are basically the same once they're sort of out and mirrored together. You've got an analog stick, which is normal analog and a clickable button. You've got the 4 buttons, which are your A, B, X, and Y. But also then presumably the D-pad on the other side to mirror the same button inputs.
Yeah.
You had the NFC home button on one side, which was going to support Amiibos, and then on the other side it was a share button for capturing images and screenshots and footage. Yeah. You've got the L and R buttons tucked away on what they called the rail, which was the connector piece for when it's taken out the dock. So LNR tucked away in there, and they also mirrored those and made them a bit beefier on the wrist strap, didn't they?
Yes.
So that you could still play those buttons. Both controllers have accelerometer, which is what we've seen before, and we've also got the sort of weird hand sensor device in the end of one of them, which they showed, like you said, rock, paper, scissors, and recognising hand movements. What else did they say? I kind of wrote that down as being Kinect-like, and they referred to the rumble now as HD. HD rumble, didn't they?
Yeah,
which is,
HD something.
and they demoed that by having the guy presenting, simulating the feeling of an ice cube dropping into a glass, and it's basically telling us that we could tell how many ice cubes have been dropped into the virtual glass by the motion that it and then it being filled up. I mean, I've got to be honest, that sounds awesome.
It does sound
I love
awesome.
the idea of that, and in that, if you're thinking like, think VR, how amazing would it be if the PlayStation VR's motion controllers could give you that kind of haptic feedback, so that when you're doing things, or any of them, to have that, I love that, and be interested in what they do with it. I just don't know that I need it on a Nintendo game.
Well, I don't see that you need it. Well, obviously, other than with VR, I don't see the point in it, other than it being a Nintendo gimmick.
Well, you know, we'll come on to the games that they promote, that they sort of said we're going to make a lot of use of these Joy-Con features. But let's do that now. So all those features combined, they showed 2 games that were really going to take advantage of that. We had 1-2 Switch, which looks like a selection of mini games to really show off this hardware. Now, I think they missed a trick. It's not bundled. It's paid for. It's slightly cheaper on Games website at £40 instead of $60.
For the 1-2 Switch?
1-2 Switch is £40 on its own. It's not bundled in the software. So that's
my God.
That doesn't come in the
did not
box.
know that.
Which I think they're missing a trick, really, because that's your sort of, that's what shows everyone what this thing can do, and that's what you take to houses. Where Wii Sports sold the Wii to millions of people, because you went and bought that box, it had everything you needed to play that thing you'd seen at your friend's house. This doesn't do that. You're going to have to buy the console, then go and buy the game. You know, it's all extra money. It's another £40, £50 on top. Suddenly we've tipped the £300 mark to get a game to actually play on this thing.
Which you need 2 people to play with.
You do need 2 people to play with. No, you can play it on, I'm sure it said, no, I'm talking about arms you can play on.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do need 2 people. But it's not, what I really liked about the idea of the game was that it doesn't really require you to use or look at the console screen. So their idea here is it takes that tabletop party element into play. You can sit the thing on a table, sit between 2 people, sit and look at the person, wipe their eyes. I like that idea. They showed the Wild West, all for £40.
Really?
They're like. No, I like the idea. I like the idea.
I like the idea, but not for £40. That's just ridiculous.
Oh come on, I spent £350 on PlayStation experience for parties.
They've not had to do anything with graphics or anything like that. They've just we're going to make a rumble every now and then. Oh, that's £40. Oh, okay, cheers.
But it's not just the rumble. It's using all elements of the Joy-Con.
But
So it's
you paid for the Joy-Con. You've got the things in your hand.
Oh, I agree.
And then you've got to pay another £40 to play the game for them. That is.
It should be 100% bundled in, but I do still like taking how you buy it out of the equation.
Yeah.
I like what it does.
Yeah.
And I like the fact they showed the Wild West. I like the whole sort of draw sequence. And I like the fact that the sort of chubby underdog on the video actually beat the guy that you think looks a bit like Clint Eastwood. I thought that was quite a nice little twist. But
when I was watching that, all I could think was, it's high noon from the watch. That's
I
all I
was
could
thinking.
hear.
I was thinking Red Dead Redemption, but they let me think about an entirely different franchise. But then they went on to show sort of like a samurai game.
Yeah, I didn't actually see that one.
Yeah, they showed a few clips. One of the ones that I came across when I was doing some reading afterwards, but there's a cow milking game in there. I know. So I don't know how that works. I mean, presumably there's some sort of like, you know...
It's going to be milking a cow.
Some sort of weird masturbation action. So basically what you can do is you can sit in front of your mate and pretend to jack off.
Oh, Nintendo.
While staring him in the eyes. So you can stare into your friend's eyes and have a virtual wank in front of him, which I thought was quite interesting.
Keeping your Japanese core there.
So I thought it was really strange, but I like the idea of it. The other one I really didn't have any love for, and which was ARMS, and people talk really positively about that.
I thought it looked okay for the little bit that I've seen of it.
I just thought when they showed the 2 people the actual sort of demo of someone playing it, and it just looked. I know they've said that it's easy to pick up and play, but hard to master. It just looked like there was no real skill involved.
No.
And I can just see, if you remember how Wii Boxing used to go, it used to be 2 people stood in front of you just flailing their wrists around like a lunatic. I can just see this becoming that again. And I didn't get it. And one of the comments they made, which I thought was a bit odd, was that they thought this was going to be, you were just being introduced to, a new breed of characters that you were going to grow to.
Yeah, Springman.
like Spring Man, Bouncy Girl, whatever her name was, and you're like, I don't think they're going to be up there with Mario and Olimar and Samus. I can't see me having my amiibos in a line and then Springy Man.
Yeah.
I just thought, nah, not for me, I'm sorry.
The reveal of the game made me laugh. It's like, oh yeah, you can box and it's kind of like shooting, this, that and the other. And it's like, dramatic music. I'm like, that's the worst name for a game I think I've ever heard of.
And it looks just like it's going to be one sort of sweaty, frantic arm throwing fest. I can't see it being particularly...
Gimmicky?
Yeah, it's going to be a short-lived thing. And then...
And how much is that?
That's a good question.
That's going to be 50 quid.
Let me check on games.
Probably won't even have a price yet.
I think... I don't... Well, was that one actually going to be released on at launch? Because there was a few of these games that they advertised and then, Arms, okay, Arms is £50.
Yeah.
1-2 Switch is £40 on game.
That is ridiculous.
These prices,
I cannot get over that.
These prices will change. Everything else, every other game is £60 basically.
Yeah.
Well,
Mario for that 1-2 Switch.
To Mario Kart 8, we'll come on to the first parties in a second, but Mario Kart 8 wasn't mentioned in the conference, but it was shown in a lot of the videos. And the reason it wasn't mentioned is because it's just Mario Kart 8 from the Wii U, with all the DLC that came out for that included, and they've put back into the battle mode the balloon popping game, which everyone said was missing from the main Mario game. So Mario Kart 8 is just a Wii U rehash. Splatoon 2, I thought was one of the funniest parts of the presentation, as that little Japanese guy came out in his little lab coat, pretended like these Splatoon things were real, and then showed these really bad plastic guns, and then did the same pose 3 times, seemingly at the wrong points during the presentation, and then wandered off. But he told us nothing about the game. It was just a flat out, this is a sequel, some new guns and new maps.
Yeah, new guns.
And it's not even out till summer 2017, so it's not even like it's a launch title. And I thought,
I think Splatoon's been out that long anyway, hasn't it, really?
First one, been over a year now. Couple of years.
The one thing that they did mention in it was like in Splatoon 2, because I think there was a lot of degrading with Splatoon 1 because there was some things that they said there was going to be in it. There was going to be all this stuff in it, and yet there was about 3 maps, and it didn't.
It was a fairly limited game. You still couldn't
and
do party
I think they said in Splatoon 2, from go, it's going to have all the stuff that we said was going to be in the first one. I was like, okay, cheers.
Well, I always thought that Splatoon 1, the reason why obviously I never bothered buying it because it's a multiplayer game and none of you guys have got Wii U's. No. But you couldn't chat to your team, so you've got a team-based, effectively a shooter, but for kids.
Yeah.
You can't talk to your team on. So, the only way to coordinate your team is to go out of your way on a separate device, maybe like a mobile app, and dial someone on Skype or FaceTime them, which is basically what they bothered to build in the foot. Well, we won't bother putting it in the console, let's just stick it on the mobile phone.
I did like the look at that Splatoon. It kind of looked a bit quirky and kind of...
It's got some really good ideas.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's a system seller. No. And if you're coming out as the first... So once they'd done the 1-2 Switch and ARMS, this was when they were into their own games then. And that was the first third-party game they showed. It wasn't even out for release. No. So here's this brand new console you're about to spend all your money on. Here's 2 games you're probably going to get bored of very quickly.
Yeah.
And we'll show you Zelda later, but you've seen lots about that anyway. Here's Splatoon, but you can't play it for 3 or 4 months after your console's actually been released. So what was the point in that? Then they went on, they showed a few other bits and pieces. They moved on to Mario then, which was what I was waiting for, and was... This was this point at which I then decided I didn't need to buy this on launch. No. Because as soon as they came out with Mario and told us it was the holiday season, I thought that's when I need to buy a Switch, because there's nothing else so far that makes me need to buy one. So new Mario is called Mario Odyssey. Looked really lovely. I mean, brilliant visuals, fantastic sort of Mario style, with the one exception being New Donk City, which is what it's called, which is basically New York City. And again, my initial reaction I think was the same as yours and the same as the internet in general so far, which is, why is Mario in the real world?
Yeah.
Or why are there humans in a world called New Donk City?
Oh, you really out of ideas.
Yeah, why does Mario look so radically different to these humans? And he's walking alongside them and he's, perfect blowjob height. I don't understand why he's there.
Is that taken from the internet?
No, that's me. That's all me. I thought the worlds were great. I mean, lots of
it looked nice.
Really funky levels. Once you got, even the New York City level, I didn't mind, or New Donk City. I just didn't like the humans being there. Yeah. If they'd all been Mario-sized little humans waddling around, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm on board with that. I didn't like the fact that there were sort of humans there, but I liked the fact that he was in a city. I thought it looked great. If you notice that it all seems to be around Bowser kidnapping Bloody Princess again. This time he's going to
Yeah, you're running out of ideas.
this time he's going to marry her. So I don't know if you
Oh, right, okay.
there's a big wedding, so he's in. Have you not noticed he's in a white suit with the top
I was
hat
driving
and
at the
cane?
time, so I didn't really
So he's
watch much of it. I heard it, but...
Yeah, he's in a white suit with a top hat and cane and stuff.
Right.
And it's all for a wedding. The sort of Koopa Trooper minions that we've had in previous games seem to have been replaced by a bunch of bunny characters. And the short glimpse I got were like these furry white characters,
right,
who seem to be the end of level bosses. I mean, it's same old. I was surprised when they said in the presentation that it's been 20 years since Mario 64.
Yeah.
That made me feel really old.
Oh, I heard that bit as well. Wished I hadn't heard it.
Yeah, it's nice to hear it now, is there? But I thought Mario looked great. Easily the most exciting thing that I'm most excited about. But because it is now till Christmas, it just completely says to me, don't buy this now. Wait till it's bundled with 1-2 Switch and it's cheaper. And all these games we're talking about being overpriced now are half the price.
And this is predominantly why I've not bought a Nintendo console since the GameCube. I would be buying a console for £300, effectively to play 4 or 5 games, and that'd be.
And you don't need to do that when I do it every year. So
exactly. But I've never played your Wii U.
No, nor have I really.
Well, that says it all.
We played Smash Brothers, didn't we, when I first got that? I thought we did. I thought you came around and played that with us.
I think so.
I'm sure we all played Smash Brothers at mine over Christmas. You did. I'm sure you played that. I'm sure you were there. Anyway, Mario looked great. Then it went on to some JRPGs and lots of swordy games, which I thought you would really have loved, and I sat there going, I don't know what these are. So Xenoblade 2 was one of them, and I even put here in brackets, look, you can see my notes, Carl will love. Japanese sort of Final Fantasy style looking fantasy game, lots of big creatures and swords and some sort of dramatic storyline. I thought it looked good. I'd sort of sit and watch it, I wouldn't play it. Then there was Fire Emblem Warriors, that was also mentioned, and amongst a couple of other things. I did write the name of one of the really weird games down, but I don't think...
There was a Square Enix one that kind of
Well, Square's onto your third parties then, so that was, I think that was Octopath the Traveller you're referring to. Which was a stupid name. So that was it for first party support, which I thought, really, and you think about it, so they didn't really mention Mario Kart, but we know it's there. You've got, yes, Bomberman is on that list.
What is that?
It's Bomberman.
But is it old Bomberman or is it new Bomberman?
No, it's Bomberman. It's exactly what you
Because it says Super Bomberman R.
Yeah, it's Bomberman, exactly as you imagine Bomberman to be. They didn't show much of it. It's in the sizzle reel at the very end, so I just jumped a bit so you can see. There's
yes, I really see that now.
Yeah, so
Bomberman.
I love Bomberman, and genuinely that, depending on how it's played, I could see that being something that, but I'm not paying £60 for it.
Hell no,
it's not.
I'm paying £60 for any game.
Bomberman's like a 10. Well, even let's imagine these get readjusted to the real world prices. Once Tesco and everybody else starts dropping the price to £40.
Yeah,
I'm still not paying £40 for Bomberman.
No,
I'm paying £20 maximum for Bomberman. Because for me it's a game that I just want to play that classic mode. I'm interested in whatever else they had.
Yeah.
But anyway, so first party support, not a great deal was there really. So we had Mario Kart, which we knew. Mario, not till Christmas. Splatoon, not till the summer. And they didn't even talk about Zelda at this point. Zelda was still missing until the very end. Zelda's what they finished on.
Yeah.
So they went
ironically, Zelda was the first thing I watched.
Well, yeah. They went on to third party support then. And you can see my note here. In brackets, I put lacking.
Yeah.
And a big exclamation mark, sorry. So they claim there were over 80 games in development from third parties for a console that's released in 6 weeks. And they had absolutely nothing to show. So they came out and went, yep, Square are working on Dragon Quest 10 and 11, and they're doing Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2, so there's 4 Dragon Quest games coming from Square, great. They're also working on this thing called Octopath the Traveller. I'm not telling you anything else. Sega came out and told us they were working on stuff, but showed us nothing, which was really weird. Bethesda came out and said, yay, Skyrim. This game that's been out for like, I don't know, 5 years now, whatever it is. And if you haven't played it now, you probably weren't that bothered in the first place, because let's be honest, if you didn't, it wasn't on the Wii U, it wasn't on the Wii, but it goes back as far as the PS3 and Xbox 360. So if you didn't play it then, and you haven't played the HD remaster that came out last year, which is now really cheap, you can instead pay the Princess.
That's not even HD remastered by the looks of it.
I think it is. I think it is. I don't know if we won't know, will we? But still, it's £60 for the pleasure of playing it on your brand new Switch, or I saw it for £25 in Sainsbury's the other day. So I don't get it. Why would you do that? Then they went on to EA. So EA came out. This ridiculously tall American man came out, told everyone how his son's middle name was Luigi, and no one laughed. And then he went on to explain that the biggest sporting franchise that EA had was coming to the Switch, FIFA. Not FIFA 17, just FIFA. Designed from the ground up for the Switch, which means that, so if you think FIFA is it's a 2-player game now, if you want to play with 4-player locally, I think, or 8-player maybe, can't remember, but using the sophisticated controls that you get on an Xbox 360 or PS4, they have rebuilt this game for the Switch so that you can play with your friend with 2 buttons and a couple of shoulder buttons. What the hell is this game going to be simplified down to play with effectively, 4 face buttons and a couple of shoulder buttons?
Maybe you have to...
one analog stick.
You have the Joy-Con or whatever it's called, you have to strap it to your leg. And when you want to kick the ball, you have to kick your leg.
From your leg. I just don't get it. I just thought... I remember them doing that on the Wii, and to be fair, actually the FIFA on the Wii was a good novelty football experience. It was different, because you kind of had to point on screen and where you pointed it past, and they do long balls, and it would interpret the right kind of pass required to go where it needed to go. But it wasn't an in-depth simulation in the way that you play it on Xbox or PlayStation. So I don't know why they're doing this again. Of all the things EA could have taken to the Switch, why in God's name would you take that? It's just all accessories further down.
Yeah, I was just wondering where FIFA was.
It's not coming out for launch. These are all just launch stuff. So you're not going to play it straight away.
And you're probably going to pay 60 quid for it.
Oh God, yeah. They're all going to be 60 quid because they're all unique games. So that was FIFA. Then they didn't really cover a great deal else, to be honest. But I did pick up a few of the games that I noticed in the sizzle reel. Apart from that dude that came out and did the really funny indie title, so I got you to rewatch that. There was a man who came out, did some really crazy sort of stance which someone should recognise.
The Switch, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think it was a recognised pose. I think it was just a pose.
No one laughed, and he even acknowledged that no one laughed at his joke. He then went on to talk about a character that they were bringing back from a previous game I didn't even recognise. And he said, we haven't got a name for this game yet, so we don't quite know what it is, but we are working on one. So if you look at it, with the people that came out, no one really showed a game which is, apart from Skyrim, which is out at launch, or even has any real detail behind it. One of the games that is out for launch is Skylanders Imaginators, which...
Well, that's just a...
Yeah, there's FIFA Switch, so FIFA's coming out. Lego City Undercover wasn't mentioned, Skylanders Imaginators wasn't mentioned, Super Bomberman R wasn't mentioned. In fact, Mario's on here and it's not even out till Christmas, so these might not even be released.
Nintendo Switch Premium Zelda Chat Earbuds. Yeah.
So
20 quid.
Yeah, there's some really weird stuff.
But so that kind of makes me think that maybe they are
going to have chat in the device, unless they're for your iPhone.
It's so cryptic.
Yeah, it's not clear, is it? So then, like I said, though, when you think that was the third parties coming out to just talk about the games that were coming out on the Switch, we knew there was some big names supporting it. They showed all that last time round. The idea I thought of this session was show us the game which you're actually going to play, and they showed very little. And then I picked up Minecraft, which, I mean, okay, great if you're into Minecraft, but let's be honest, I'd imagine all the kids who are getting a Switch have probably already got Minecraft on at least 2 of the devices. Steep, well, that tanked on Xbox and PlayStation. Yeah, not great, you didn't like it. Bomberman, love the fact that's coming out, but not paying full price for a game which is basically just a sort of visual rehash of an old style game from way back in the day. Yeah. That was Game Boy back in the day, that was, wasn't it? I mean, that's so far back.
Mega Drive, I think it came out first. It was a Sega game originally.
Was it?
Pretty sure it was.
And then the one that tickled me was Street Fighter 2 Ultra. So, I mean, okay,
I've got that for the SNES.
They're probably going to rehash and do something clever with it, but it's not even like a visual overhaul. It's the classic style you remember. Street Fighter 2 as it looked way back when it was all pixels and no 3D graphics. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing because I liked Street Fighter back in that day. I just think it's a really strange thing to put in your sizzle reel for your brand new console.
Do you know what's really missing from that? Smash Brothers.
Smash Brothers is hugely missing from that, but I think if they were talking about a Smash Brothers game, they'd be severely misleading at the moment because nothing would be out for that for a number of years yet. I mean, Smash Brothers Wii U took ages to come out.
Yeah.
They only do one a generation. And I'm thinking through actually, what other games are there? Classic Mario games, or Nintendo games, sorry. So we've had Mario Party wasn't mentioned, you would assume that's going to come. Although the last few of those have been really badly reviewed.
That's only just come out as well for the Wii U.
Yeah, but there's been a few, I think, and they've been really badly reviewed over the last. I mean, they're on Mario Party 9 or 10 now or something, I think, and they've not done well. So we know Mario. We know Mario Kart 8, but it's not a new Mario Kart. No Mario, like no Smash Brothers. No Animal Crossing. No Pokemon. That was mentioned as being Switch. Why wasn't that shown? Surely that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You just bought it on the DS, but now you can have it on the Switch. Why not? Just do it. I don't get it. There seems to be a lot of things that were missing that you would expect to see there for classic Nintendo.
Just seems rushed.
Yeah, it feels like they're not ready to launch this. And I don't know why they are now, because they're up against nothing, unless they're just really, I don't know, struggling for money, but who knows. Mario on the iOS device should probably have made a few million quid, I'm sure. So then that only really left us then. So they finished the third party, they did the product config, so they talked about what was in the box, which we covered earlier. And then they finished the whole presentation with Zelda Breath of the Wild, which does look brilliant, I have to admit.
Look good.
But it's a huge game that I know I haven't got a massive amount of time to invest in. So given that's the only thing that really sells the console on day one to me, the fact that I can buy it on my Wii U anyway, if I want to, and I think there's not a huge amount of difference, and the fact that I can get, I will probably not get the time to play it anyway, in reality, the way that I would like. I don't really see, for me, a need to buy this on day one. And you know what I'm like for buying new toys. The only thing that makes me want to buy it is that early adopter syndrome in me. The fact that I'd like to have it at launch, have it play with it on day one, know what it's all about. That's the only part of me that wants to buy it. But even then, I think, well, what am I buying? I'm buying that and probably 1-2 Switch, which means I'm paying premium price for a game which will be 15 quid come Christmas, 20 quid, or bundled. And I'm paying,
giving it away.
I'm paying top whack for the console, which again will have some sort of promotional bundle come the end of the year or later in the year. So I think, although I've got my pre-order on with Amazon, I'm going to leave it there for a couple of weeks just to let the dust settle on all the different sites. But quite honestly, and I'm going to be having this out of birthday money, so it's either that or a number of other things that I could use birthday money for, something else instead. I'm not sure I'm going to go with it. I'm very, very seriously very much doubting if I'm that bothered by Zelda, unless they come out and say, oh well, there's this very key thing that only works on the Switch and therefore the game experience on the Wii is dramatically lessened.
They couldn't do that, could they?
I couldn't see it.
Shooting themselves in the foot.
Well, they'd be pissing a lot of people off who've waited a long time patiently for the one and only Wii U Zelda game, because every other Zelda game on the Wii U to now has been remastered. So
what was the one on the Wii?
There was 2 on the Wii. There was Twilight Princess was the first one that came with the console when it launched.
Right.
And then Skyward Sword is the one that most people never played. It came right at the end of the Wii's game, Wii's life cycle before the Wii U launched. Then they remastered Wind Waker. Skyward Sword, by the way, wasn't that good compared to the others, apparently.
Yeah.
Wind Waker was remastered for the Wii U, which apparently looked brilliant, visually very good, and they're very expensive games still to buy. Ocarina was remastered for 3DS. And then Twilight Princess was more recently remastered, although not that well remastered apparently, and shipped with an amiibo. But that's
Twilight Princess was the one where you become a dog, isn't it? Or like a wolf.
The wolf thing is what came with the amiibo. So there hasn't been a Wii U Zelda, and this was meant to be it, and it's going to be a console crossover, which tells you how short the Wii U's lifespan's been.
Yeah, I don't think it was very long.
But Zelda Breath of the Wild did look amazing. March 3rd, that is releasing, although the conference doesn't confirm what that looks like for the UK, because the rumours going into the conference were that it was going to be a release launch for the US markets and Japanese markets. Now, looking on Games website, they are saying 48 days to release. They're saying it's coming on the 3rd, so maybe that is true. They're doing something slightly naughty, and this doesn't really work for a podcast, but I'll show you Carl anyway. They're selling the special edition here, and the box art they're using to promote it at the moment. Can you see that on the side there, that image there? That
blow up.
I don't know, I can very well. That is the sword statue that they're selling as part of the Master Collection edition.
Okay.
Not the special edition. That is the only thing that separates the two, and there's about a £30-40 price difference. So they're showing box art for something you're not going to receive because that is not part of the special edition. But
that's game for you.
That's game all over, isn't it? So anyway, so the only things that then I made a note of, which I found when I was digging around, that weren't in the conference. So first of all, they never mentioned the resolutions of the screen or the hard drive space. I added those in. The touchscreen was never mentioned or purposed.
Yeah.
And they never mentioned Zelda's playtime, which was He's actually on their website. It's been 3 hours
Yeah.
afterwards. Otherwise, everything else was pretty much in there. They let us know what we needed to know about the console. So having seen all of that, what would be your summary, Carl? What are your thoughts now? We've talked about it. You've read about it. You've watched it. Where does it leave you?
My final thoughts would be it's something new, something interesting, something different, but it's not for me.
Would anything make it for you? Do you think it's something you could see yourself purchasing further down the line, or is it just a case of I don't see me ever buying that console?
I mean, as I've not bought a Nintendo console for such a long time, I could see me buying it a bit further down the line when it's got some more games that I'd like to play on it, other than Zelda and potentially Mario.
Because they have confirmed they're going to be bringing N64 and GameCube ports to the library, which I think, if nothing else, is a way to collect some of that nostalgia again.
Yeah, I'd definitely love to play the GameCube Smash Brothers again, because that was my favourite Smash Brothers.
I like that one.
Yeah.
So it's probably not a purchase for you in 2017 then? If at all.
Probably not, unless someone wants to buy me for Christmas.
I've got to be honest, I think, although I have my pre-order in, and I know you've raised your eyebrow every time I've said it, I am genuinely... The most sensible thing for me to do is to cancel it, to be honest here. But I'm going to wait and see how the dust settles. If nothing else comes out of the woodwork as being a launch title or a reason to buy it on day one, as much as I would love to be able to sit there and go, I've got one, and do an unboxing and all that sort of stuff, I just don't see the point. It's a lot of money. This time of the year, I mean, I've got a holiday I'm going on actually a month after it comes out.
Yeah.
And then it's Olivia's birthday at the end of April. Do I need that expense? No, probably not.
Watch this space, internet.
Yeah, we'll see. I think I'm more likely to cancel it than not.
Well, we'll see.
I can't disagree. So I think we'll call it a wrap there. If you like what you heard and you're interested in the other stuff that we do, we've got lots of other podcasts you can catch up on iTunes. We have a YouTube channel and we also stream regularly on Twitch. You can email us your thoughts and questions at bossbattlenetwork@gmail.com, and we're on Twitter at bossbattlenet. Until next time though, I think we're out.
We are.